Top 13 Lucky Indoor Plants for 2025, Feng Shui Plants for Positive Energy. Hello, Earthly Delights family. If you're the kind of person who finds peace in repotting a plant on a quiet Sunday morning, if you've ever caught yourself smiling when you see new leaves unfurl, or if you dream of turning even the smallest balcony into a green sanctuary, you're exactly who I'm talking to today. You might be a city dweller craving a breath of nature in your living room, a remote worker looking to bring calm into your workspace, or a wellness seeker who knows that true healing starts with the environment we create around us. Whatever your story, there's one thing we all share: the belief that nature doesn't just belong outside, it belongs with us. Inside our homes, shaping how we live, breathe, and grow. And in 2025, with the world shifting faster than ever, reconnecting with green life isn't just a hobby anymore, it's a necessity. Plants aren't just pretty, they ground us, energize us, and remind us that growth, slow, steady, and sometimes silent, is still progress. So in this series, I'm going to walk you through 13 lucky indoor plants that don't just beautify your home, they elevate your life. Stay with me, because some of these might surprise you. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to Earthly Delights. This is where your green journey gets personal. 1. Nature's Minimalist, the ZZ plant. Now, let's begin our journey with a plant that perfectly fits the soul of modern life, the ZZ plant. You see, in this fast-paced world where notifications, schedules, and noise are constantly pulling our energy outward, the ZZ plant quietly brings it all back in. It's the minimalist's dream, with its glossy, dark green leaves that reflect light like polished jade. The ZZ plant doesn't scream for attention. It thrives on stillness, just like many of us are learning to do. If you're someone who's juggling work calls while making dinner, someone who's always wished for a low-effort but high-reward companion, or maybe someone who's just starting your indoor gardening journey and doesn't know where to begin, this is your plant. Why? Because the ZZ plant doesn't demand. It adapts, whether you place it in a bright living room or a dim hallway. It remains unfazed. It can go weeks without water, and it'll still greet you with strong, upright stems every morning like nothing ever changed. In fact, some call it the survivor plant, because even if you forget it, it never forgets to grow. And what's truly beautiful is that this quiet resilience reflects something deeper. It teaches us that beauty isn't always loud, growth doesn't always look dramatic, and stability, true stability, comes from knowing how to thrive even in less than perfect conditions. So, if you're building a peaceful home, one where calm is more valuable than chaos, the ZZ plant might be your new favorite roommate. Place it in your living space, your office corner, or even near the front door to absorb stagnant energy and bring in clarity. Trust me, this plant doesn't just clean your air, it clears your head. Up next, we'll explore a fragrant little miracle that sharpens the mind and soothes the spirit. It's not just a plant, it's a whisper from the garden gods. Stay with me. 2. The uplifting aroma of rosemary. Now, let's lean in a little closer to something you might already have in your kitchen, but today, we're going to see it in a whole new light. Rosemary. Yes. The same rosemary that you sprinkle over roasted potatoes or stir into a pot of soup. But did you know that in the ancient world, this humble herb wasn't just prized for flavor? It was revered as a symbol of memory, protection, and spiritual clarity. For those of you who value not only the look but also the feeling a plant brings, this one's a treasure. Rosemary is the plant of the mindful, the intuitive, the thoughtful souls who pause to reflect, who like to sit with a cup of tea near the window, journal in hand, and breathe in something grounding. What makes rosemary magical is how it works on multiple levels. Its scent alone can uplift a heavy day. Just run your fingers through its slender, fragrant leaves, and you'll feel an invisible fog lift. That's no accident. Studies have shown that rosemary's aroma enhances memory and alertness, making it the perfect companion for your desk, kitchen, or creative nook. But here's the part one love most. Rosemary grows best when it's trimmed with care and intention. And isn't that just like life? The more you shape it gently, the more fully it grows back. Whether you're living in a sunlit apartment or tending a cozy patio garden, rosemary thrives with just a little light and a lot of love. Keep the soil well drained, give it sunlight, And it'll reward you not just with growth, but with energy you can actually feel. So if you've been needing a boost, not just in your space, but in your spirit, maybe rosemary is calling to you. Let it remind you of your inner clarity, your strength, your scent of purpose. Coming up next is a plant that dances with the sun and folds itself in the dark. A quiet performer with purple leaves that move like poetry. Get ready for the enchanting rhythm of the purple shamrock. 3. Oxalis triangularis, the purple shamrock. And now, we step into the realm of subtle magic, a place where plants don't just sit still, they move. They shimmer, and they respond to the rhythm of light and time. Meet the Oxalis triangularis, or as some lovingly call it, the purple shamrock. This plant doesn't just grow, it performs. Its deep violet, triangular leaves open with the morning light and gently close as night falls, as if it were bowing in gratitude to the day. Watching it is like watching a meditation unfold, slow, intentional, and full of grace. This isn't a common houseplant you stumble upon in every home. And that's what makes it so special. The purple shamrock is for the dreamers, the artists, the quiet observers among us, the ones who notice the way light shifts across the floor, who find meaning in movement, who believe that beauty often lives in the details. If you've ever longed for a plant that matches your introspective nature, this might be the one. It doesn't just bring color into your space, it brings soul. And the symbolism? Even richer. With its shamrock-shaped leaves, it's long been associated with good fortune, spiritual growth, and new beginnings. It's a gentle reminder that change can be elegant, and that transformation doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. In terms of care, Oxalis is wonderfully cooperative. It loves indirect light, and a consistent watering schedule will keep it happy. And when it gets a little tired, it rests. It might go dormant, but only for a time, before springing back with more vigor than before. There's a lesson there, isn't there? So whether you place it on your windowsill, your writing desk, or that quiet corner you retreat to when the world feels too loud, the purple shamrock will meet you there, with softness, mystery, and quiet strength. And just when you think you've seen the most artistic foliage a houseplant can offer, we move on to a plant that feels like an abstract painting brought to life. Get ready for the mesmerizing presence of Calathea orbifolia. 4. Calathea orbifolia, the rhythm of quiet strength. Let's take a breath together. Inhale and exhale, because the next plant on our list isn't here to impress with bold colors or dramatic shapes. Instead, it's here to remind us that peace, true peace, moves in quiet rhythms. This is the Calathea orbifolia, a plant with large, round leaves that seem to ripple with soft silver-green waves, like a meditation captured in foliage. If the purple shamrock is the dancer, then the orbifolia is the still water beneath it, calm, consistent, quietly powerful. For those of you who value subtle beauty, for those who are sensitive to noise, who crave clean lines and gentle energy in your space, this plant will feel like home. What makes it truly mesmerizing is how the leaves themselves seem to breathe. They gently rise and lower with the daily cycle of light, reminding us that everything in nature follows a rhythm, including us. It's a plant that teaches presence, that whispers, slow down, you're allowed to rest. Caring for Calathea orbifolia is a bit like caring for a soft soul. It likes things just right, indirect light, evenly moist soil, and high humidity. It won't thrive in harsh conditions. And that's okay. Some of us weren't made to thrive in chaos either. So, if you're someone who's been searching for serenity, if you've been trying to carve out a space in your home where you can return to yourself, this plant is a beautiful companion. It's not flashy. It doesn't need to be. Its energy speaks for itself. Place it near your reading chair, in a quiet bedroom corner, or beside a diffuser with lavender or eucalyptus oil. It will turn that spot into a sanctuary. And now, we leave the calm of the quiet forest and step into the refreshing embrace of the tropics. Up next is a plant that breathes life into even the weariest corners, the graceful, generous Areca palm. 5. Areca palm, the breath of the tropics. Now, let's shift the energy. Imagine walking into a space and instantly feeling lighter, like a gentle breeze has swept through the room and carried your worries out with it. That's the kind of atmosphere the Areca palm brings. Tall, feathery, and full of movement, the Areca palm isn't just a plant, it's a presence. It sways without wind, lifts without effort, and brings with it the open spirit of the tropics. For those of you who long for vacation days, who feel most alive under the sun, or who want to breathe easier in a world that often feels closed in, this plant is your ticket to a daily exhale. One of the most beautiful things about the areca palm is how it turns any space into something more alive. A blank corner becomes a breezy alcove. A stuffy room suddenly feels spacious. And your energy? It softens, it opens, it breathes. This plant is especially beloved by families and those who cherish harmony in the home. In many cultures, the areca palm is seen as a sign of togetherness and well-being. Its many stems grow upward together, side by side, like community in plant form. It's also a powerful natural humidifier and air purifier, releasing moisture and filtering toxins from the air. So if you live in a dry environment or spend long hours indoors, the areca palm quietly works in the background to keep your atmosphere balanced. Caring for it is simple, as long as you give it what it loves: bright, indirect light, consistent watering, but never soggy roots, and room to stretch. And stretch it will. It can grow tall and wide, becoming a graceful statement wherever it stands. Place it near a window where sunlight pours in but doesn't scorch. Let it greet you every morning as you sip your coffee, or stand guard near your entryway, welcoming you home with tropical ease. And just when you think we've reached the height of beauty, color steps in. Our next plant is small, dramatic, and buzzing with visual electricity. Get ready to meet the living mosaic that is Fittonia. 6. Fittonia, the networker's leaf. Now, let's zoom in, not just with our eyes, but with our attention, because sometimes the most intricate beauty reveals itself only when we slow down and look closely. Enter the Fittonia, affectionately known as the nerve plant. It may be small, but make no mistake, this plant is electric. Its veins run wild across each leaf like a lightning bolt frozen in time, threading together hues of deep green, pink, red, or even white. It's not just a plant, it's a piece of living art. Fittonia is the perfect companion for those of you who love detail. The artists, the observers, the sensitive souls who notice the way a leaf catches the light, or how moisture beads along the edge of a pot. It speaks to people who care about the tiny things, because they know the little things matter. There's also something symbolic here. Those vein-like patterns, they remind us of connection, of how everything in life is woven together. Thoughts, people, memories, emotions, all part of a bigger network. Just like Fittonia's leaves, our lives branch and flow and intersect in ways we often don't even realize until we take a moment to reflect. But let's not forget, this plant has personality. 2. Fittonia is famously dramatic. Miss a watering, and it may faint, leaves drooping like a curtain call. But give it a sip, and within minutes, it springs back to life. It's as if it's saying, yes, I need care, but I'll reward you instantly. Place it where you'll see it often, on a side table, a kitchen shelf, or beside your favorite lamp. It loves humidity and soft, filtered light, and when it thrives, it fills the room with energy, not loud, but alive, like a heartbeat you didn't know you needed to hear. So, if your space could use a spark, a gentle reminder of your interconnectedness and your impact, Fittonia might just be the messenger. And now, we move from color to comfort. Our next plant may surprise you, because it's something you drink, something you smell, but rarely imagine as a friend growing on your windowsill. Up next, the soothing, awakening coffee plant. 7. The coffee plant, growth through patience. Now, let's take a cozy detour, a journey into something familiar, something comforting, something you might have already held between your hands this morning without even thinking about where it came from. The coffee plant. Yes, that coffee. But today, we're not talking about it as a drink. We're meeting it as a living, breathing part of your home, and maybe your new favorite leafy companion. For those of you who love slow mornings, who believe in the sacred ritual of sipping, reflecting, and easing into the day, the coffee plant will feel like an extension of that ritual. Its glossy, emerald green leaves shimmer with a quiet confidence. It doesn't beg for the spotlight, but once you notice it, you can't stop admiring how deeply rich and vibrant it looks. It's like nature's version of a velvet robe, elegant, grounding, and completely at ease. But what really makes this plant special is what it symbolizes: patience and potential. You see, the coffee plant grows slowly. It teaches you to wait, to nurture, to stay consistent. It may not flower or fruit right away, but when it does, the result is something incredible. And isn't that just like the best parts of life? If you're someone who's rebuilding, who's starting over, who's tending to your inner garden as much as your outer one, this plant mirrors your path. It thrives in bright, indirect light and loves a little humidity. So a spot near the kitchen or bathroom window suits it just fine. Water it when the soil feels dry to the touch. And watch how it gradually fills its pot with new shoots, growing stronger each day. You won't get a harvest overnight, but what you will get is something far more valuable: a daily visual of progress. Quiet, slow, steady progress. So, for the thinkers, the dreamers, and the doers who understand that good things take time, the coffee plant is your gentle guide. Let it remind you, you're growing too, even if it doesn't show just yet. Now get ready, because next, we're shrinking things down. We're talking about a plant that proves joy doesn't depend on size. Say hello to the playful, charming, endlessly lovable peperomia. 8. Peperomia, joy in simplicity. Let's talk about joy, not the kind that explodes in fireworks or shows up in grand gestures, but the quiet kind. The everyday kind. The kind of joy that sneaks into your life through a soft beam of morning light or the gentle rustle of a leaf when you pass by. That's the kind of joy peperomia brings. This small but mighty plant is a celebration of simplicity. Its round, textured leaves, sometimes smooth like raindrops, sometimes puckered like tiny green pillows, are little reminders that beauty doesn't have to shout. In fact, sometimes it whispers, and when you slow down enough to listen, it changes your whole space. Peperomia is for the people who love the in-between moments. The ones who take pleasure in watering their plants while music hums softly in the background. The ones who enjoy rearranging their shelves not to impress others, but to feel more at home within themselves. It's a plant for those who find fulfillment in tending to what's small and steady. One of the most wonderful things about peperomia is how many shapes and colors it offers. From deep reds to jade greens. From rippled leaves to heart-shaped ones, it's like the plant world's version of personality types. And because it stays compact, it's ideal for tight spaces: a desk, a bedside table, a bookshelf. It doesn't ask for much, but it gives a lot. It thrives in moderate light, doesn't need frequent watering, and even forgives the occasional missed drink. In fact, it's succulent like nature stores water, making it incredibly adaptable and beginner-friendly. But beneath its simplicity is something powerful. It symbolizes balance, modesty, and cheer. It reminds us that life isn't always about climbing higher or doing more. Sometimes, it's about staying rooted, enjoying where you are, and letting joy be enough. And now, if you're ready for a plant that makes a bold statement with its dramatic structure and commanding presence, stay with me, because next, we're meeting the fearless spirit of the Alocasia poly, the dreamer's plant with a warrior's edge. 9. Alocasia poly, the bold dreamer. And now, it's time for something bold. A plant that doesn't just sit quietly in the background but commands attention the moment you walk into the room. Introducing Alocasia poly, also known as the African mask plant, a striking beauty with leaves shaped like shields and veins so sharp they look hand-drawn by nature herself. This is not a shy plant. It's here for those of you who dream big, who walk your own path, who aren't afraid of standing out. If you're someone who's never been content with blending in, who's always had a vision others didn't quite understand, this plant was made for you. Alocasia poly thrives on intention. It doesn't like inconsistency or neglect, but when you meet its needs, it rewards you with lush, sculptural growth that turns heads and lifts energy. Think of it like a loyal companion that mirrors your ambition. The more you pour into it, the more it rises, tall, proud, unapologetically unique. Its arrow-shaped leaves, with their dramatic white veining against deep green, bring movement and edge to any space. Place it where it can be seen, on a plant stand near a bright window. Perhaps in your creative studio or home office. Somewhere it can inspire, somewhere it can energize. Now, here's what you need to know. Alocasia likes bright, indirect light and high humidity. It needs regular watering, but not soggy soil. In other words, It's a plant for people who are ready to show up. Not just occasionally, but with steady care and attention. Sound familiar? This plant doesn't just survive, it thrives under pressure. And if that resonates with you, if you're the kind of person who keeps going when things get tough, who turns obstacles into opportunities, Alocasia poly is your leafy twin flame. Coming up next, we're trading drama for softness. Our next plant isn't here to push forward, but to gently wrap you in calm. It's delicate, soothing, and quietly powerful. Get ready to meet the plant that heals with grace, the maidenhair fern. 10. Maidenhair fern, the soft healer. Take a breath with me now. Let's soften the pace, just for a moment, because the next plant on our journey is not bold or flashy, but it holds a kind of quiet magic that speaks to the tenderest parts of who we are. This is the maidenhair fern, a plant that feels like a whisper, a lullaby, a gentle hand resting on your shoulder when the world has felt too heavy. With its lace-like, fan-shaped leaves and impossibly thin black stems, the maidenhair doesn't shout for attention, it invites you to lean in. To notice, to feel. It's the kind of plant that thrives in spaces where softness is needed. If you've been through something lately, if you've been healing, recalibrating, or simply craving a little more gentleness in your life, this plant will feel like the companion you didn't know you needed. Maidenhair ferns do require care, but not in a way that feels burdensome. In fact, the act of tending to them can be healing in itself. They love humidity, dappled light, and consistent moisture. They won't tolerate neglect, but they will flourish under kindness and attentiveness. It's almost poetic, isn't it? Place your fern in a bathroom with filtered light or near a softly lit reading nook. Somewhere intimate, somewhere it can breathe, and help you do the same. Its delicate leaves respond quickly to the environment around them, just like sensitive souls do. But given the right conditions, they grow back just as easily. Soft doesn't mean fragile, it means responsive, aware, alive. So, if you're someone who feels deeply, who needs your space to be a sanctuary, who's learning to nurture not just plants but yourself, the maidenhair fern is a mirror to your journey. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. And now, let's bring a little color back in. The next plant is joyful, optimistic, and surprisingly strong, with a bloom that lasts and lasts. It brings light into any room. Say hello to the radiant African violet. 11. African violet, the optimist's bloom. Now let's turn the page to something a little more colorful, a little more hopeful, because every space and every heart deserves a bit of bloom. Even when the skies outside feel gray. Meet the African violet, a plant that doesn't just brighten your shelf, it brightens your spirit. With its velvety leaves and charming clusters of purple, pink, or white flowers, this little beauty feels like a cheerful note left on your desk, reminding you that joy is still very much alive. The African violet is for the optimists, for the ones who wake up early just to catch a sunrise, for those who believe in second chances and small beginnings, for anyone who understands that sometimes a tiny burst of color can shift your whole mood. What makes this plant so special isn't just its appearance, it's its resilience. Despite its delicate petals, it can bloom year-round with proper care. It thrives in bright but indirect light and prefers to be watered from the bottom. Gently and with intention. It doesn't like cold drafts or sudden changes, but give it consistency. And it will reward you again and again. And here's something beautiful to think about. The African violet often blooms quietly, unexpectedly, when you've almost forgotten about it. Just when you think the cycle has paused, new buds arrive, like surprise gifts from a universe that hasn't forgotten you. It's also a symbol of devotion and enduring love. So if you're creating a space for healing, creativity, or partnership, this little plant adds just the right energy. Place it on a bedroom windowsill, a side table, or even beside your kitchen sink, anywhere you'd welcome a touch of living color. And now, we move from compact to commanding. Because next, we're going big, with broad leaves, bold presence, and a reputation for making every room feel richer. Up next, the striking and grounded fiddle leaf fig. 12. Fiddle leaf fig, the leader's tree. And now, it's time for something grand. A plant that doesn't just occupy space, it defines it. The kind of presence that immediately commands attention. yet carries itself with elegance and strength. This is the fiddle leaf fig, a tall, statuesque plant with broad, violin-shaped leaves that seem sculpted by nature's finest hand. It's bold, it's architectural, it's a statement, and it's the perfect plant for those of you who lead with intention and live with vision. If you're someone who sees your home as more than just a place to sleep, if you want your space to reflect confidence, creativity, and personal power, then the fiddle leaf fig may already be calling to you. There's something about this plant that elevates a room. It transforms blank corners into focal points. It makes ordinary spaces feel curated, elevated, even a little majestic. And perhaps that's why it's become such a beloved symbol of leadership, growth, and upward momentum. But like any great leader, the fiddle leaf fig doesn't thrive on luck, it thrives on care. It wants consistency. It wants light. It prefers a spot with bright, indirect sunlight, where it can stretch toward the day without being scorched. And while it doesn't need constant attention, it does require awareness. Overwatering can be its downfall, and drafts or sudden changes can stress it out. Yet, when you listen to it, when you learn its rhythm, something amazing happens. It begins to thrive. New leaves appear, large, waxy, and proud, like fresh chapters in your life story. This plant is for those of you who are building something, a business, a family, a version of yourself you've been dreaming of becoming. It's a plant that reflects your journey, not always easy, but always worth it. And now, for our final stop, we arrive at something joyful, generous, and full of positive energy. A plant that multiplies its blessings and loves to be shared. Let's close this beautiful list with the radiant and giving Pilea peperomioides. 13. Pilea peperomioides, the circle of giving. And here we are, at the final chapter of our green journey today. But this last plant, it's anything but an ending. It's a beginning, a gift, a ripple effect of growth and generosity. Say hello to the Pilea peperomioides, lovingly known as the Chinese money plant. With its perfectly round, coin-shaped leaves and joyful upright posture, this plant seems to smile back at you from wherever it sits. It's simple, it's playful, and above all, it's generous, quite literally. Why? Because this plant multiplies. It doesn't just grow upward, it sends out tiny offshoots, baby plants, or pups, that can be repotted and gifted. One plant turns into many. One act of care becomes a cascade of sharing. It's nature's way of reminding us that abundance isn't about keeping, it's about giving. The Pilea is perfect for those of you who believe in community, in kindness, in the idea that joy multiplies when shared. If you've ever given a plant to a friend, or received one during a meaningful time, you already understand the energy this plant carries. And it's not demanding either. It thrives in bright, indirect light and prefers its soil to dry slightly between waterings. It's forgiving, adaptable, and cheerful, making it ideal for both beginners and longtime plant lovers. And its round leaves? They symbolize wholeness, unity, and the endless loop of good energy. Place your Pilea on a sunny windowsill, a kitchen shelf, or anywhere people gather. Let it be a reminder that the more love you give, the more love grows back. So whether you're growing your very first plant or tending to an indoor jungle, the Pilea invites you to do it with generosity, with an open hand, with the belief that what you nurture today may bloom into a blessing for someone else tomorrow. And just like that, we've reached the end of our list, but the beginning of something beautiful. Because these 13 plants aren't just greenery. They're reflections of you, of your energy, your journey, and your desire to live a life filled with purpose, peace, and possibility. Stay with me for the conclusion. It's time to bring all of this together and plant one final seed of inspiration in your heart. Your green chapter begins now. So here we are, full circle. 13 plants, 13 living companions, each one carrying a story, a lesson, a kind of energy that aligns with something deep inside you. Maybe you saw yourself in the bold spirit of the fiddle leaf fig. Or maybe it was the quiet grace of the maidenhair fern that spoke to your soul. Perhaps you were drawn to the playful heart of the Pilea, or the meditative sway of the areca palm. Whichever one called your name. Know this, plants don't just fill space. They transform it, and in doing so, they help transform you. Because this journey isn't just about collecting leaves. It's about choosing to surround yourself with life, with growth, with reminders that beauty takes time, that care matters, and that even in stillness, something powerful is always unfolding. In this digital age, where everything is urgent and constantly moving, tending to a plant is a quiet act of rebellion. It's you saying, I choose slowness. I choose presence. I choose to make room for life to bloom, not just in pots and planters, but in me. So whether you bring home one of these lucky plants or all 13, let each one be a gentle guide. Let it teach you how to listen, how to nurture, how to trust that roots take time to grow, but once they do, they hold everything steady. Thank you for being here, for walking this green path with me today. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community here at Earthly Delights. This is just the beginning. We've got more tips, more stories, and more ways to reconnect with the magic of nature waiting just around the corner. Until next time, keep growing, keep glowing, and may your home always be full of light, life, and leaves.